British racing circuits. Short, fast, narrow, hilly, and scenic. Oulton Park ticks all the boxes, and so despite its challenges, it's generally praised by drivers. But while the old school flavor of this track seems fitting for vintage cars, it's not going to make it easy at all when it comes to overtakes or traffic. Frustrations are likely to abound, and we'll see who manages to come out jolly like the English as we get ready to watch round 11 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Pekin. With me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, Oulton Park is more of a club track now, but at one point it certainly hosted some of the biggest names in Formula One. Tell us about it.
Joe, set in the former country estate, Oulton Park's sweeping contours and picturesque setting have ensured it's one of England's most popular racetracks almost from its very first laps in the 1950s, located near the very scenic village of Little Budworth, just outside Tarporley in Cheshire. The first race was organized for Formula 3 cars and motorcycles back in 1953. August it was, an early fall day. It was also the venue for a slice of Formula 1 history in '61 when Sir Starling Moss took the unique four-wheel drive Ferguson to victory, the only time a total traction car has triumphed in the top category. Four-wheel, of course, later being banned, but this course today, the international version, no chicanes. 2.6 miles, 4.3 kilometers. It features 12 very, very tricky turns here, Joe, but the best way to take a look today is to hop on board for a ride around Oulton Park for a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Philip Lake and the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Oulton Park. Up towards Old Hall Corner, you always have to be careful not to turn in too early. There's a deceptively late apex, and the exit narrows up quickly. After that, the little crest at Denton's means you're kind of lining up the entry into Cascades blind, but you definitely want to get the car off to the right-hand side for the widest line possible into this left-hander. The exit of this corner will be important too, because the Lakeside Run is one of the few long straights you get on this course. But it won't be flat out through Island Bend, even with the incredible downforce of the GTP. Make sure and hold to the left, because right away you're braking for Shell Oil's corner. This is one of the few good opportunities to overtake, but it's still usually very hairy. You're now onto the longest flat-out section of the track. Up and over a hilltop, the car is going to gain incredible speed, and you'll feel just how bumpy this circuit is. But without the chicanes in this version, you'll find yourself actually needing to get on the brakes for Knickerbrook. There's very little room for error through here, and expect some drivers to end their day early in this corner. Then you're back on the power again all the way through Clay Hill and Water Tower. And Water Tower makes the entry to Druids very tough with it not being a straight shot. Plus, this is a pretty rapid double apexer with a tricky rise right when you want to get your right foot down. From there, you've got your last really good place to pass, braking for Lodge. But the tough thing about this hairpin is that the track drops away from you on the exit and deceives eager drivers into overshooting it. From there, you've now hopefully finished a lap around Oulton Park. Should give you an idea of just what it's like trying to rush around this track. It certainly feels pretty thin, which is, as I said, going to make it so tough to try and get passes done around here. Let's take a look at the points championship, starting with the prototypes, of course, on the driver's side. Keith Ritchie and Antti Lepisto. The battle continues. Lepisto is here today, and let's see, it looks like Keith Ritchie is... he's here as well. So with only 1 point between them and 2 rounds counting today, you can imagine how important this race is going into the last round. Jamie Hall has pretty much slipped too far back to try and catch them. Olenek has not got much of a chance to try and move himself into third, and then Ardo Iamaki could maybe do something to catch Olenek, but it'd have to be phenomenal circumstances. Switching over to the teams for the Nissans. Looking at where they sit, the Busby Miller High Life guys are not too far ahead of the All-American Racers, but they're looking relatively safe. Today will really determine whether or not it's going to be an easy drive to the championship for them in the final round. Then you go down to Bayside Motorsports. They are locked into third. Same thing with fourth on West and the 5th place team of Nissan Motorsports. Sean, what about the Audis? How are they looking?
Well, let's run through it here real quick. 2 weeks left to go. Billy Ruola, I think he goes a long way to wrapping this thing up today. I'm looking here in the field. don't see him here today, but he's got the space to give here. Houghton back there, 61 points back. Ove Trengerade, Ben Laughter are close for that third spot there. And Brian Shanahan down there in fifth, 371 points out. And that is a pretty far distance to catch up. But a good fight here in the championship. Let's look at the team standings and see where we're at. It's that Justin Berry Vavalin team there. 911 points total this season. A great season for them. Kairola and Shanahan have had a good one. Mind Trick Motorsports, the Commodore team, 46 points back. Going to be really tough to make that up here at this point, Joe. But we go back to Mind Trick Windows team. They've had a good season also. Both teams look to finish on the podium as Lightsinger sits 204 points back there in fourth.
Now, currently, Iamaki sits on the pole, but he's not going to get a second lap as he binned it before he could come around and complete that second lap. So right now, he's basically having to wait and see if anybody else can best his time. Lepisto falls short, just about a tenth shy, actually, on his lap, coming in second. Now we're starting to get lap times in for the Audis as well. Trangarade at the top of those, Sean.
Yeah, Ove, you know what? Not the, well, I was going to say, not the first time he's put down a good lap today here on GSRC. And boy, that is a mighty stiff time there to get started. A 123.7, so 124.3 back to Malia. So wasn't even really close. And the rest of the field struggling to find that kind of time right now.
And if you noticed at the top of the screen, the purple icon came up because Keith Ritchie has bested Iamaki by 0.2 of a second. He is now on the pole. You saw Reed Miller sitting in fourth. John Keefe yet to get a time in. The Hoosier running that Marlboro Nissan around Druids here. You talked about how tough before the broadcast that double apexer is, Sean.
Yeah, Druids is it's just a mess. Not to mention it's just so narrow that the track surface itself is so narrow. You're really struggling for grip the whole way through there. And, you come off of that short straight there, 8 and 9 through into Druids. And you just kind of you want to push the car. You really think you can go faster and you get kind of sucked into wanting to do more, and more usually winds up at a lot less. And unfortunately wrecking the car could be much less than anyone needs.
I've been eyeing the Audis to see if anybody's going to have the time. Ben Laughter, who's usually relatively fast, only gets himself into fourth on his first lap through. 124.9. That's going to nearly put him 2 seconds slower than our pole sitter. Let's see, who else is still out there running? Brian Shanahan is stopped. Actually, are none of our Audis still running? Ben Laughter's putting his second lap in. Reed Miller is coming to a halt. And Ove Trangarade has got both of his laps in.
Ove went 123.1 on that second lap. And it's up to Ben Laughter now. If he gonna maybe get to the top here, he's going to need to pick up a full second and a half.
In fact, the only ones that I'm seeing still putting laps in are John Keefe and Jamie Hall in the Nissans. They've got 1 lap down, and they're trying to get a second clean one through to improve their qualifying. Jamie Hall sitting in 7th at the moment.
Laughter gets it up in third. It was a 124.4, but still over a second off of the pace set by Ove Trengrade.
I think Trangrade is clearly going to be the man to beat. He's on a high as he took a win in Montreal in the Lotus 49. Now he crosses the pond virtually as we watch Jamie Hall coming up and over the crest out of Lodge and across the start-finish line and gets himself into third.
Very nice.
Beautiful lap.
Speaking of laps, Keith Ritchie really helps the community out a lot with the Nissan. He does, I'm sure you've seen him in the lap guides he does in the forums to kind of help everybody out and get everybody up to speed every week. And watching his lap around here in that Nissan from right behind the wheel, Joe, it's just blinding. It's like, what did he just do there? How did he do that? What I found myself constantly trying to catch up to what he had just done, because it's just so quick around here. You're really, really traveling at breakneck speed in that Nissan around here.
So we watch Reed Miller head off into the reeds there a bit, as Brian Shanahan is not going to take lap times. Odd. I'm not sure if maybe he had a mistake and just had to give up on it. But our grid is finished, so let's go through our starting order with the pole. Keith Ritchie besting Ardo Iamaki, those two on the front row, and Jamie Hall continuing his great swing and form this season to start in row 2. Antti Lepisto, Iamaki's teammate, going to be next to him in 4th, with Fabian Gerber coming over from the Lotus 79s to have a go at the Nissan. Very similar car, although about a decade later than that Lotus. Carl Janssen going to be starting in 6th, switching over from the Audis yet again after finding success there. Rob Olenek will start in P7. Then in 8th, it's Clayton McLeod, followed by our driver in the lap guide, Philip Lake, starting at 9th, and John Keefe rounding out our top 10. He did improve about a 10th on his second lap. Martin Krejcik starts in 11th, with John Hill taking the green flag in 12th, Lewis Emerton in 13th, and Scott Anderson 14th. Last of the Nissans will be Corey Lewis. Sean?
All right, and starting 16th, it will be Ove Trendegrade, first in class. On the front row with him, it'll be John Malia starting 2nd. Ben Lafter will start 3rd today. Franco Scurry, 4th. Reed Miller, 5th. Hideki Koivitsa will start 6th. Ralph Cummins, 7th. Stefan Schlacher will start 8th. 9th, Brian Shanahan, and 10th, Riley Thompson.
Real quick, for anybody viewing for the first time the iRacing Camel GT Series, let's bring up the race details and tell you what this is all about. As I said, 2 rounds left, including today, 11 of 12. They do have drop rounds in the championship. Drivers get 4, teams get a whopping 6. And this is a shorter race, sprint race for them, 40 minutes long, which means you will not expect any scheduled pit stops, including for fuel. There is no incident cap, which is kind of unique to this series, so drivers who have incidents don't have to worry about being DQ'd, but honestly, if you get incidents around here, you're likely to get some sort of damage along the way. And as the pace car takes off, we are scoring with official iRacing points for this championship. Sean, there's a bit of worry, at least with some viewers, about the race being clean out there, shall we say.
Ooh. It's a narrow track. It's a tough track, and take out the chicanes, it makes it fast. And if you haven't practiced and you're not ready for this one, you're really going to get caught out and you're going to get exposed real quick. So the potential for disaster is there. This is a great group of drivers we see week in, week out. Hopefully we can get this race started off without a parking lot.
Green flag is out. Keith Ritchie takes control as he zooms down the front stretch into Old Hall. Challenge for second, but Iamaki manages to hold off. Jamie Hall way off to the grass goes Antti Lepisto. He's continuing to try and sneak by him down into turn 3, but nothing doing. Let's go to the Audis.
And Trengrade gotten out to a nice start there, already about half a second over John Malia. Malia does a good job to get away himself. They top 3 have gone line astern. In fact, most of the field back here, in fact, all of them, they've gone line astern. Brian Shanahan making an attack at the back of the field on Ralph Cummins here. And he's going to back off and let Ralph have it as they head down into Shell Oil's corner.
That high banked hairpin. Oh, one car going off.
That was Ralph Cummins, actually, there at the back.
I wondered if anybody would have trouble with Island Bend. That is so marginal. Now we see the Nissans heading up to Druids. Very tricky braking, almost blind braking into there, and then a blind crest on your way out of it on top of it. Almost reminds me of Mid-Ohio, Sean, where there's very few corners where you can see the apex coming into it. Jamie Hall's having bad problems coming out of the Lodge as they go over Deer Leap. Here comes Antti Lepisto looking around the outside up into Old Hall. This looks like the first lap once again, and once again he gets shoved off by Jamie Hall. On the Lakeside Straight. Bit of a battle between Janssen and Lepisto now. They've also got Fabian Gerber behind them as they break down into Shell Oil corner, but they stay in position. That's Lepisto 4th, Janssen 5th, and Gerber 6th.
Okay, back here in the Audis, trend grade now got that almost to a second. Maya falling back just a bit, but Joe, not a lot of positions changing hand here early. All the Audis still on the track, though.
Yeah, they're very spread out, kind of each getting their own piece of track. And they're going to want that when that traffic comes through, Sean. Although we do see a battle here between Koivisto and
Franco Scurry. Yep. Koivisto's getting a run at him now, actually, up the straight.
And the brake hard here for Knickerbrook. Both of them through successfully, but much faster for Franco Scurry. Gets himself a little bit of space. Oh, and he goes wide.
Yeah.
Coming up through Water Tower.
And you have to watch that. You have to be very, very careful. That grass is deadly. And look at that. Koivisto gets by. Scurry slows down for some reason there.
Maybe he had cut course? Not sure. I thought maybe he was struggling with understeer, but that doesn't look like it anymore.
Boy, that's an awfully odd place to pick up a cut course. But here, let's go back to the battle here in Nissans.
This is between Ardo Iamaki and actually, is this and Keith? This is for the lead. So, wow, I thought Keith was going to stream away from things here, but he is under threat. And remember, it's Lepisto that his main fight is with. Lepisto's mired down in 4th right now. So, does Iamaki play the team game here, get ahead of Richie, and try and back him up?
Lepisto struggling back there, Joe.
Lepisto with a bad exit out of Lodge. Carl Janssen now behind him as they come up to Old Hall. Lepisto way off the apex, but somehow doesn't lose time. Still in a battle. We saw this before. 3-way with Fabian Gerber at the tail of this train. Amazing. It amazes me that these cars can't stay flat out through Island Bend. That is a terrifying corner, Sean.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that was my experience in practice. Was terrifying. Oh, and you know what? To the Audis, Stefan Schlacker getting around Hideki Koivisto. What a move! We've got a replay of this.
See, it looks like this was in the Lodge.
Yeah, what a great way to end the lap, too.
Just gets himself a good run. Looks to the inside. Keeps it from understeering off the corner. Smooth stuff from Stefan. Schlacker's not giving up on him. Stays glued to the tail of the Audi.
Have we seen Schlacker this season? I don't think we have, Joe.
It's the first time I feel like we've called his name. And he's sitting in 4th position in that class, which is no mean feat.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a real train behind these guys. Shanahan, Scurry, Thompson, and Miller. Although I would say Shanahan's starting to get the better of it. Maybe catch the tail end of the toe of the battle in front of him.
Miller to the inside down into Knickerbrook, but he's not brave enough on the brakes. And so Thompson, but Thompson went a little wide at the apex. You can see how much speed that cost him. Here comes Reed once again. It is very single file through the section of left-handers that lead into Druids. Just can't do anything with it. And Koivisto gets Schlacker back. That happened out on the exit of Druids, it looks like, but the battle behind them starting to erupt because Schlacker had his momentum interrupted. So Shanahan and Scurry have caught up to him. Scurry looking to the inside down into Old Hall, but the late dive does not produce fruit.
And it's not going to be long before they're catching the back of this field here, Joe. The Nissans.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's head over to Richie now because he's coming up quick to Riley Thompson. Just a couple more corners. And this Toyota is going to be right on the back of the final Audi.
Yeah, and that final Audi is not far from the action and just in front of him. This is going to be a quick trip through here.
Right on board with Keith, current championship leader. You can see the Audi.
Trouble up ahead in the Audis. Scurry is off. Scurry is off. Into the barrier.
Let's see if we can figure out what happened in the replay. We were watching Richie at the time. This looks like it was in a Knickerbrook. Ooh, yeah, 3 cars in a Knickerbrook is never going to work.
Yeah, they were trying to go 3 wide there. I don't know why.
Scurry just getting. And something's happened to, is that Richie? Richie falling down the order.
Oh, no.
Oh, it was traffic.
He checks
He got
up.
held up, yeah, by Reed Miller. And Iamaki catches him, not expecting him to slow up that quickly, turns him, and then turns him back. Both of those cars fall down the order. That puts Jamie Hall in the lead. We're watching from onboard Richie.
Boy, Lepisto's right there. Lepisto, ooh, having to get by.
This is a boon for Lepisto. He's side by side for the lead as they're coming up to traffic. Jamie Hall's going to be caught out, or is he? As the car switches back across, he now sneaks through. Who is that trying to get past Lepisto? Lepisto slides. That's Carl Jansen getting in a second. Chaos in the Nissans.
Stefan Schlocker just trying to keep it on track.
Fabian Gerber gets into third. Lepisto back down to fourth. He's ahead of Richie. That's the critical thing for him here in the championship. We wondered if we'd have a bit of chaotic action in traffic. Oh, McLeod has a spin. Looks like he has an Audi with him. That is Brian Shanahan. It looks like he got involved in that as well. And there was contact between the two of them. Frantic moments. Well, Jamie Hall still your leader. He's leading Jansen by about 1.5 seconds. Gerber another second back in third in the Nissans.
Yeah, it really looked like Clay. Now trouble for Kraytrick.
This is in Lodge. He was all by himself. He was caught a little bit out as he's trying to pass Thompson. He just got the corner a little too hot. He returns to racing without incident. Wow, up at the front of the Audis, it's still train grade leading. Malia second, Laughter third. Go ahead, Sean.
It's just crazy right now watching the Nissans get through, and Malia now getting past there as Jamie Hall comes speeding through. And now he's going to catch up to the leader. Ove Trendgrade has to make a decision, gets it out on the grass to do it. Oh, look at this. This is a mess.
Oh, they're catching them. And Druids, thankfully, the Audis knew to hold their line. As those Nissans have so much more downforce in the corners. Look at them just come up on these guys into Lodge as we watch Fabian Gerber try to track down Carl Jansen for second.
Okay, in my estimation, they're going to have to go through that 3 more times, Joe. Whew. We're going to have to do this 3, maybe 4 more times before this race is over. That's just nuts.
This is the big battle we want to keep an eye on. Lepisto still ahead of Richie as we look down at Trangrade leading now. And those two have separated slightly, so let's jump up to third with Fabian Gerber still on the back of Jansen. It's the tightest fight at the top of the Nissans at the moment. They finally cleared all the Audis, so they got a short break here, Sean.
A short one. It only took about 7 minutes, I think 7-8 minutes for them to come around last time, so we'll see here.
Right on board with Carl Jansen, looking back through the 007. Cammy goes a little wide, coming over the crest on the exit of Druids. Doesn't give an opportunity for Fabian, though.
Oh, and trouble on track, and then boy, Koivico has contact with Martin Kraytrick, who was trying to come by. Those two locked up. Kraytrick goes off the track.
Kraytrick was fun. This is a late lunge in that Tic Tac car, and the poor 18 just was not expecting it. Tips him off inadvertently. as we come back live, we're still seeing Gerber behind Jansen, doing his best. These two are being caught, I believe, by Lepisto. He's been creeping forward. Go ahead.
I was just going to say some crazy stuff here today.
Only 1 point, remember, is between Lepisto and Richie. So between them, it is essentially whoever finishes ahead is going to have the advantage going into the final round. Everything to play for between those two. Richie's been the dominant force in previous seasons in the Nissans. Lepisto is the challenger. And right now, he is on the higher ground.
Boy, Ove Trengray just had a scary moment there. He was getting out of Knickerbrook and into 8, and he caught some of the grass. The car kind of whipped around on him right in front of Louis Emerton coming by. There we go. We got it on the replay here.
Yeah. Scandinavian up and over the hill here.
It's Louis Emerton right behind him in that Nissan coming up.
This car does not like fast corners. You can see right there, just putting a wheel slightly off. As we come back live now, he's still holding on to the lead, and he's got about 4 seconds. So he, over Laughter, who's recently overtaking Malia. We missed a pass here. Seeing if it was recent, and unfortunately, looks like it was a while ago. I'm guessing that was traffic helped.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a couple laps ago.
It was Maya had slowed down for some reason. Trying to catch why he slowed down, but he was awful slow, really in the middle of the track while letting some Nissans get by. But
yeah, and that was near. We don't have to go back to it. Philip Lake had a serious problem with some contact in that same moment through Druids, and that set him down to 11th at the moment. Not the day that Lake has wanted. Up at the front, Hall may have been able to utilize some rare opportunities to get to P1, but Jansen is going to see if he can use his pace to try and get back past him. He has run him down, and he's brought Gerber along with him. So where is traffic? Are they going to have a little bit of a mess coming up? Yep, they got Franco Scurry up ahead. So is this going to help or hurt our leader? Get him just on the exit. Maybe balks the corner for him just slightly. They're all going to stay in line down through Lodge. Your order still Hall, Jansen, Gerber for the podium. Up next for them, going to be Brian Shanahan, but they've got at least a little ways to go before they catch him. Shanahan, is he in a battle for position here? That's Riley Thompson. It is indeed. He's going to get him, it looks like. Up into Island Bend. Brave move down to the outside, but he pulls it off. Thompson has no answer into Shell Oil, and now here come the Nissans. Ooh, big mistake from Jansen trying to get the power down. The car squirming, and Gerber knows it. He is right under that rear wing, up and over the hill. They do get some braking down in here. Defensive move by Carl Jansen. He's not going to let him by. Now here comes the traffic. Hall gets past both of them. Swinging around the outside, just enough room for Carl Jansen. Oh, contact between Gerber and Shanahan. And then Lepisto gets balked.
Wow, wow, wow.
And somehow only one car came off on there. Oh, make that 2. Lepisto gets a touch. That was Keith Ritchie. Keith Ritchie that gave him just the slightest of touches.
Slight touch, but the chrome horn nonetheless. And that's going to send him around, lift him up.
And what that does for Keith Ritchie is allow Ardo Ihimaki by, the teammate of Lepisto. So Richie is now ahead of his championship rival, but he's got his teammate in front of him. And after that move, I don't think Iamaki is going to play any favors to the Club West driver. Jansen gets himself back up on our leader once again, and more traffic in the way. Get past the Audi of Koivisto. Gerber now catches them as well as more traffic gets in the way. Oh, Jansen gets tipped around in Druids. Second time we've seen that. And Gerber goes around too.
Well, we've got a replay of that. It seems like the Nissans are having the most trouble out here, Joe, not the Audis.
Yeah, that's Gerber behind, just not expecting to have to check up middle of the corner. And just a repeat, exact repeat of what we saw at the start of the race. Car behind just can't see almost. Yeah, we're going to see just how blind he is. Just can't know. Oof. That's a mess. So what this does is Jamie Hall holds on to first, but now Iamaki finds himself in second, and Keith Ritchie is back into third.
I think we got a battle for P2 here. This might be enough. No, maybe not. Malia been sitting safe here in third behind Penn Laughter. The trend grade starting to check out, but I keep thinking Malia's going to want to get this position here at some point, but he's been very patient. Done nothing to try and really upset Ben there. Just keeping the pressure on.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like Malia is thinking big picture here. He's got 21 minutes left to go. Oh, and there's a mistake right there. Ben Laughter going to hand it over on a silver platter as the inside of the next corner is going to go to John Malia, but he won't need it because he is fully passed.
And just in time, here comes Jamie Hall.
He's going to weave through one. He's going to hold up Malia in the next corner. Sneaks through. Wow, this is such a dance between these two classes.
Mm-hmm.
And whoa! As Malia gets shoved off track unceremoniously. That was Olenek, I believe, who slipped to the inside. Let's take a look at the onboard.
It was, yeah.
Thought he had the spot. He gets one, thinks, okay, I'm close enough for the other. Nope, that gap goes away.
Yeah, I don't know if he even ever saw him, Joe.
Well, the good news for Molly, he only lost one position. He's just back to third. Now, Keith Ritchie lost some spots, and I'm not sure what caused that. He's back down to fifth. That moves Olenek to third. So much going on. It's hard to keep track of all the action out there.
It is. Man, Jansen almost gets into Ben Laughter as he just got by him.
Now, incredibly, Sean, the top five are only separated by 3 seconds. In fact, the battle for second, Iamaki, Olenek, and Lepisto are all line astern. Look at this.
Yeah, the bunched up Nissans at the very front of the pack are not something we're generally used to seeing.
Well, we've said that, I feel like, the last 3 weeks, though. This is becoming the norm.
Okay. I had a deja vu moment there. I was saying that. You know, I've said this before.
Yeah, this is really becoming the new normal. And Olenek made a mistake through Shell Oil, so Lepisto now on his tail. Up into Knickerbrook they go. No answer from Lepisto for now. He's got to worry about Keith Ritchie, who is directly behind him, about 1.5 seconds. Any traffic could bring those two back together. Can't stress enough the picture of the championship between Lepisto and Ritchie. How hard those two have to fight right now. Lepisto looking hard on the back of Olenek. Can't get a chance down into Lodge. Oh, and Olenek, did he make a mistake? It looked like the car maybe bobbled on him, trying to find grip out of the corner. Here comes Lepisto. And something happened to Jansen, I'm hearing? We'll go back to it later. I think maybe he had an off and lost a position. But we're staying on this battle between Lepisto and Olenek. He looks to the inside, coming up to Island. Just a psychological move. peeking down to see if he can rattle Rob Olenek. New England driver holding station for now. But as these two fight, here comes Keith Ritchie now. It's under a second between Ritchie and Lepisto. Oh, he looks to the inside up into Knickerbrook. Once again, can't do anything with it. Up ahead of them, Iamaki and Jamie Hall are battling for the lead as well. Only 2 tenths between P1 and P2. Replay button is going to get a workout today, I think.
Yeah, I caught the problem with Jansen. Boy, it hurt the car. He's behind Fabian Gerber now. I don't know.
All right, we're going to take a look at the replay now that our leaders are separated slightly.
I think it's come out of lodge here as we're going to pick it up with Jansen.
Ooh, yeah, that curb. Not as much grip out there. And when he put the power down, it sent him right into the wall. So Hall continues to fend off Lepisto Trangarade, 6 seconds ahead of Laughter, so really no battle down there.
Joe caught in a mess as Brian Shanahan, well, it was, and now it isn't anymore. But he's still Scott Anderson trying to get around. Scott Anderson's having connection issues. This is a tough spot.
Oh, and the lead is on, and he gets by. Iamaki sneaks past Hall on the entry into Knickerbrook. Brave stuff. Gets a run up and over the crest. Oh, good run. Wow.
Yeah. That's the mother of all runs right there. Jeez. Powered it on the outside.
Wow. Great move from the Finn. Not often you can see moves in Knickerbrook, let alone with the outside being given to you and just saying, all right, I'll make it work. Things aren't done yet for Jamie Hall because Rob Olenek now gaining on him, and Olenek has Lepisto hot on his tail. They are gaining fast. Is there damage on Hall's car? He's just dropping like a rock now.
Boy, there's damage on a lot of these cars. I'm looking at Jamie's now. Yeah, Jamie's got some left front damage. Pretty good wrinkle there on the left front. Certainly could be affecting his top speed.
Behind him, Olenek has to worry about Lepisto because he's looking to the inside down into Knickerbrook. Can't do anything there. Little traffic that they have to weave through. Yeah, Sean, the damage on these cars are making it look more like Bristol, and I don't mean the one in England.
Right.
Shanahan having an off, dealing with traffic, unfortunately. Look, oh, wow, look at our leaders. There is currently 9/10 of a second between the top 4. Look at the blimp view. God, I don't even have to describe it. You can see everything right there as P3 might change. Oh, they come together! Spearing off the course. Olenek right into the barrier. Lepisto manages to save the car, but he goes down to 4th past Keith Ritchie. We kept reiterating it, and there's good reason. It is narrow. There is no room. They just came together. The speed that they were going at, Olenek just had no hope.
Boy, while that was all going on, we had trouble in the Audi. Schlacher got into it with a couple of cars. I think Franco Scurry was one of them, and
battle for the lead is on again. Sorry, Sean, because Jamie Hall, traffic. Oh, and unfortunately that sent Reed Miller into the wall. Not sure if we even have time to go back to that. Got to watch these top 2. Iamaki has been caught by Hall. He made an attempt but couldn't do anything with it. And behind them, Keith Ritchie. Remember, he has to worry about Lepisto, who he's now overtaken thanks to Lepisto's problem with Olenek. We're seeing some driver chat in iRacing. Lewis Emerton says that it's worse than Summit Point. That tells you how tough this is out here. All right, Keith Ritchie now brings himself into the fight. That's the lapped car of Scott Anderson, letting all 3 of the podium through. Through Shell Oil Corner they go. We still have 13 minutes left on this thing. We're not even 3/4 of the way through.
Now, Joe, I've got to say something here in the Audis. Riley Thompson now finds himself in 4th. Joe, the man started at the back of the field here in his Audi. He is up to 4th in class, and Brian Shanahan, of course, who had gotten pushed off the course, is fighting to get that position back.
Yeah, Riley really playing the attrition game well. As you can see, Shanahan closing fast. And actually, we need to go to Jamie Hall because he had a big bobble coming out of Lodge. And Keith Ritchie, well, I thought he had a run, but Ritchie must have had no traction as well. Everybody struggling with some damage or another, with very few cars having not made contact with somebody else along the way. With that attrition, Sean, there's a classic movie called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The original tagline of it was, who will survive and what will be left of them? That is what it feels like today.
It really does. That's a great tagline to bring up. It fits today. Who knew here at Oulton Park? Well, okay, maybe some of us knew. There was a lot of
a little bit of a look there from Keith Ritchie. He wants to get as many points as he can to try and get himself into the best position for the final race over Lepisto. So he is eyeing Jamie Hall right now, really hounding him as they come through Druids. Down into Lodge they go. They've lost touch with our leader. Ian Mackey's been using traffic well to his advantage. That's been Laughter. Second place, and the Audis that they're going to get by. He lets our leaders through. And in all of this, Lepisto, don't give up on him yet. He's trying to come back. He gets the fastest lap of the race. Oh, but oh no, and there goes all that ground that he gained. Ben Laughter just couldn't put his car invisible at that moment, and had to stay out of the way. Oh, was that our leader? That's Ove Traegerade. Oh, Traegerade goes off. The battle is now on, and the Audis as well. Through Island Bend.
Got out of the way a little too much, and then got out of the way again. And then got all the way off.
Lucky job there that he was able to get back into this. And Rob Olenek has come on to the chat to say that the contact he had with Ante, he thinks it was netcode. I haven't had a look at it, but those guys have had a chance to try and take a better glance. I'm guessing
too much going on for me to even remember it.
Yeah. More. Oh, and look at this. This is just the nature of the beast. You can't be mad that the other class is coming through. Laughter caught at the worst moment there through Lodge. It's going to separate him from the leader, and there it's going to come right back at him. Because poor Ove Traegerade had to take a wide entry down into Old Hall. And so he loses time. They come back together. God. Seeing it from the onboard, you get a real good sense of just how crazy it is when these Nissans come through. Speaking of which, we're not really missing much at the top of the Nissans. Iamaki, Hall, and Ritchie holding station. In fact, they're working with traffic within this class as John Hill has to let them through.
Joe, you say we're not missing much. I think every time a Nissan goes by an Audi, at least in this race, there's potential that we are missing something. And who was that going off the course? There was Reed Miller. I don't know if he was just getting out of the way.
About the 5th time.
I think Reed was just getting out of the way.
Well, he was calling it a day. He took a tow. I think he was so far down, as he was the last car running, he really had nothing to gain being out here. So with 8 minutes left, he decided it's better to just free up the track for the drivers still competing.
Well, we'll save him a bear claw for that.
So that battle between Laughter and Traegerade.
Oh, Shanahan just slipping by Riley Thompson. He had been setting it up for a couple of laps and finally takes advantage coming up on the long straight. He'll get by, get himself up in a fourth. It's a country mile to Malia, though, 40 seconds up the track. This is the battle for fourth place here. You could bet Riley will look to take it back.
Position number 2 in the prototypes. Keith Ritchie got to within a 10th of Jamie Hall. Oh, and here comes more traffic. And the nefarious Druids, what are we going to do here? He sneaks through. But look at this. The thing that Keith Ritchie wanted least right now, Anti Lepisto is on his tail. Oh, sliding wide. And Jamie Hall loses 2 positions in one corner, collects it back together, but it is now a battle for second between Lepisto and Ritchie.
Running out of time, boys. And they've got a couple lap Nissans in front of them, and Martin Krejcik and Ardo. I'm sorry, Ardo's your leader. He just got by Krejcik. My bad, guys. But the rest of this battle catching up here now to Krejcik.
More traffic up in front of them as well in the form of Riley Thompson. Thompson down to 5th now in his class. They're going to sneak through the inside. No, this is not Sparta. This is indeed madness out here that these guys are dealing with. Oh. And Ritchie's under threat. Lepisto to the inside, down into Druids. Hard to do it through there, and Ritchie fends him off. Lepisto is anxious. He knows what's on the line. He knows he needs to get past Owen Brian Shanahan hard into the wall. This was just behind what we were watching, and that was with Krejcik. Both of them. Oh!
Yeah, Krejcik got off on the grass, and boy, it didn't end well from there. And boy, what a heavily damaged car. He's trying to get back to the pit. He tries to get back there, and he hits Shanahan, and that's a shame for Shanahan.
While all this is happening, Ardo Yamaki is still your overall leader. He's got about 2 seconds on Ritchie, and I'm sure he's aware that those two probably don't even care about the win at this point. They're just worried about each other. So Iamaki breathing a sigh of relief.
Tell you what, Ben Laughter is going to get a shot at Ove here. He is going to get a legitimate shot to win this race.
He's been working on him. Ever since Ove had that off, they've been tied at the hip here.
I mean, this might be one for the ages here to the finish. Ove had looked to be just really driving off from everybody, Joe, and he makes that one mistake. And boy, got to be careful against another one. He's sliding the rear end of that Audi out. Laughter just keeping it all together here.
Such a different race from what Ove experienced earlier this afternoon, I guess, for him. The Lotus 49s, he was out front for almost the whole way, all by himself, almost no traffic to deal with. And here, just flip everything around that I said. That's all you need to know.
The tale of 2 races, an iRacer's journey.
Well, as that's happening, those two seem to kind of have the track to themselves for the moment. Oh, Shanahan a little wide around Lodge. Let's check back in on our battle for second in the Nissans here in these final 5 minutes. Lepisto keeping Ritchie honest, and are they coming up on traffic? No, that's Iamaki. Well, they're gaining on Iamaki. So Iamaki's pace, is it enough? They've chopped half a second off. They've got a second and a half to go. They could still yet run him down. Could we see a 3-way fight for the lead, including 2 of our championship contenders in the prototype class?
I like the way it's setting up, Joe.
And we stepped away at the right time. Ben Laughter's lost about a second and a half on Trangarade, so this is much closer. Right on board with Lepisto, the challenger. Second in championship points only back by a single point on that car that you see ahead. That's Keith Ritchie, current champion. And they've now got it down to 9/10 of a second. They are reeling Ian Maki in hand over fist. They've got more traffic up ahead. That's John Malia. When he holds him up, something fierce. Here comes Keith Ritchie looking for the inside, but there's a car there. Can't make the pass down into Lodge. Oh, and contact between Malia and Lepisto through Lodge. 3 laps to go.
Malia trying to hang on to his podium spot here, Joe. The Nissans get through with a little scuffle.
Lepisto goes all the way off track coming through Old Hall, pushing hard to keep contact with these two. As they come through Island Bend, down into Shell Oil Corner. Now they've got Ben Laughter, second place driver. Laughter's at a fight for the lead. He's not going to want to give up too much time here. Gives just about a car's width there at the apex. Lets him through. What about Lepisto? What's Lepisto going to do? He's going to try to drive through Knickerbrook. He's a long way back. He's going to catch him just on the exit, just at the right time. Oh! Iamaki off! Iamaki off course into the wall!
And Ove Trengrade was involved in that.
Let's figure out what happened. He had to check up for our Audi leader of Trangerade. And once again, the bit between his teeth, Ritchie had to keep his foot in it, tried to go through the hole. Might have been a bit of netcode in there too. And so that puts Ben Laughter into the lead because you can see Ove. Watch what happens to him here. He gets caught up in it.
Yeah, and I don't even know if there was really any contact. I think he
dove off track to not get hit by the spinning car, maybe?
I think so, yeah, and it slowed him down so much that Ben Laughter was able to get by a full 5.5 seconds.
2 laps to go, and the battle for the lead is not over. Iamaki may have been taken out of things, but now Lepisto stays on the back of Ritchie. 3/10 separate our championship leaders. This will keep Ritchie in the points lead if he can finish where he is. The reverse will be true if Lepisto gets by. More traffic gets out of the way. That was Scurry letting them through. Trangrade still in second for our Audi fans. So he's still on the podium. Right on board with the Finn. That Miller High Life Porsche Nissan is doing all he can to stay in touch just in case traffic lets them through. They've got Clayton McLeod within their class. Now on the final lap. Opportunities running out. What is McLeod going to do? Is he going to pull over? Through Island Bend they go. McLeod still ahead. Ritchie now catching him in Island Bend. This is going to be a good opportunity for Clayton to just pull aside, and he does not. Up and over the crest. He's still staying ahead. He's still not pulling over. Now up into Knickerbrook. Is this going to hold Ritchie up? Ritchie slows up a little bit into the fast right-hander. No chance for Lepisto this time through. Still Clayton not pulling over. Oh, and now they've caught traffic. Lepisto around the outside or so. He tries. Can't do it. Oh, and he gets spun off. He flips off the course, and that is it. He gets a tow. That means that second is going to go to Gerber, but Keith Ritchie is going to take the win and get an even bigger points lead into the final round.
And while all that was going on, Joe, Ben Laughter had trouble. Spins off track, misses the barrier, but Ove Trengrade gets around.
Boy, the
Ove Trengrade is going to get this win, Joe.
I am stunned. Ove Trengrade comes up over Deerleap and across the line to take his second win of the day. The lap chart of the positions is going to look like a centipede today. see if we can figure out what happened to laughter, since we did catch the incident for our leaders in the Nissans.
I just couldn't break all that up, Joe, while it was going on. I'm sitting here watching it, and I'm like, oh my.
This was by himself.
Yeah.
We might have to go a little earlier than this. This was coming through turn 3. Let's see. I think, oh, we need to go just a little bit earlier, about 15 seconds earlier. Or is that it right here? No, well, that's a second off that he had, apparently. It was just before this. It was coming. Here we go. This is the initial mistake that loses him the lead, I believe, Sean, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is, Joe. He's going to, right here at apex, the car is going to come around on him. It's going to slide off down to the inside, and then
there he goes.
It's going to come around, and then it was over.
All right, let's watch Iamaki's incident as well here. Or Lepisto's incident. They're coming up on Clayton, but also here comes, let's see, who is that Audi that they caught here? Well, that's Thompson.
Thompson
just didn't give him enough room. Thompson was innocent in that one, I have to say.
Thompson was a victim all day, man.
Watch from outside the back of the Audi. Boy, and that hurt Thompson's day too. Yeah, he blew the engine and all of that. And what happened there, as far as Lepisto, is that when you go over the railing, iRacing effectively automatically tows you. So you can't get back to the course at that point. We're going to go to break, try to collect our thoughts. We'll have the official results as well as driver interviews after we show you all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Oulton Park Circuit. If you didn't watch that race, I recommend going back and watching it before you listen to the results because, my goodness, that was entertaining. Keith Ritchie came out with the win. Fabian Gerber, a surprise second, having started this race fifth. And we missed this. Carl Janssen wound up on the podium after all that. He disappeared on us after an early incident and somehow came back into this thing. John Keith went from 10th to 4th. Good run from him. Jamie Hall, some disappointment. He was leading for much of the race. He wound up 5th overall. Antti Lepisto, because of him disappearing off the track on the very last lap with only a single corner to go, he gets slotted down to 6th. That's going to make it a hard climb for him to overcome Ritchie in the final round. Clayton McLeod wound up in 7th, and Philip Lake took home 8th. Scott Anderson finished in 9th, John Hill in 10th, and Ardo Hiyamaki, I believe the last of the Nissans still running, comes home in 11th.
All right, and then we're going to go to Ove Trengrade, your big winner. He thinks he didn't deserve it. I think he had a pretty interesting, pretty great drive there. He'll finish first. Ben Lafter second. John Maya with a great drive. John did just enough to stay in this race, and trouble all around him. He finishes third. Franco Scurry finishing fourth. Riley Thompson hanging on to finish fifth. It was a workout for him. Martin Krajcik there, you see he finishes 12th in class, 17th overall. Bryant Shanahan will finish 6th in the Audis. Stefan Schlacker, his debut, well, he'll finish 7th. He moved up a spot. Then it's Rob Olenek there. He'll finish 13th in class, 20th overall. Louis Emerton, 14th. 22nd going to go to Reed Miller. That's 8th in the Audis. Hideki Koivitzel finishing 9th. Ralph Cummins in his Audi will finish 10th. And Corey Lewis never actually got started, did not take any laps in this race, guys.
Now, Sean, typically the incident cap is not an issue with it being not around in this series, but 25 starters, you want to take a guess at how many would have been gone if they had that 17 incident cap?
If you've got a number for me, go ahead, Joe.
13. Over half the field would have disappeared today.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how chaotic it was out there. In the meantime, why don't we talk to a few people? Let's talk to our overall winner, Keith Ritchie, who I'm sure is probably just as surprised as we are that he came home with the win today. Keith, did you think it was all over when you had your initial problem early on?
Oh, man, I just didn't, excuse me, I definitely didn't think I'd end up back on top. I was maybe just hoping to pick up a few positions here or there, but it was just insanity out there. I have to admit it's fun and it's intense and crazy as the race progresses. But to anybody watching, this isn't typically what we see in Kamel. It's kind of a short, narrow track where it was just kind of mayhem out there today. I was just looking through the incident list, and it's just crazy how many incidents we all racked up out there. But yeah, after the first incident, I just wanted to try to finish out the race. Felt the car felt okay still, and just wanted to kind of just see what happened. And I got into Antti once and felt bad for picking up a position there. So I was kind of actually happy that I screwed up and gave it back, because that way I could try to earn it, the right way. And so I just kind of really got lucky from that point forward, picking up positions for incidents that happened ahead.
Now, coming into this race, there was 1 point separating you and Lepisto. Were you aware of that coming in, and did that change how you drove against him?
No, I actually wasn't aware, because I didn't check after our last week's race to see where we're at on standings. But I approach the races always the same way. I always obviously just try to do my best, and really I wasn't trying to do anything to try to affect his race. Definitely not. And so, I don't wish for anybody to have the race ended for an incident or something that happens like that.
Well, the good news is next round is a much wider track with a lot more passing opportunities. You're going to Road America, and you are in a much better position than Lepisto now, since he finished down in 6th as far as points for the championship. Do you feel confident, or because of the recent chaos that this series has seen, do you think anything is up for grabs and he could still overtake you in the points?
Oh yeah, it's never over till it's over, right? The Road America is probably the best track for this series, at least one of the best. It's also one of my favorite tracks. And so saving the best for last, it really is an excellent track for this series and a lot of fun to race there.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you, and good luck in defending your title.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
It's Keith Ritchie, winner out there today. Up next, Ben Laughter, I believe, is ready to talk to Sean Ambrose.
We've got Ben. Ben, congratulations. It's a podium finish, but tell us how crazy that race just really was for you.
Well, first off, I'm going to go to a samurai sword store and then fall on one. That finish, my leg was just shaking with adrenaline. I mean, just vibrating on the pedal, and it slipped off in that braking zone, and I got it out in the grass and looped it on myself, and it was this lazy slow motion spin, and my heart broke. But I mean, this was nuts. I think I had contact 2 or 3 times. I saw Nissan spin behind me. Both of the Audis that I was battling had incidents with traffic. It was bananas, this race. That said, God, I love this track. This track just does everything right. It was so fun, but exhausting.
Buddy, of course, you're acutely aware that we don't have the incident cap in place here in the series. Do you know how close you were if we had?
I think I ended up around 15 or so today, and I knew going in, every single track out here, it demands a 1X, it seems. And it was just, I don't know, when I was in practice, I recognized that this was going to be an expensive safety rating day.
Well, buddy, it was, as always, a lot of fun watching you get that Mind Trick Motorsports Commodore team around the track, and a podium finish here is a good way to, finish off the season. One more round to go next week, and you're looking forward to there.
It's Road America, right? That's one of my all-time favorite tracks. I'm good there. I like it there. Both of these cars are amazing there. So if anyone's watching this who's waiting for a moment to try Kamel GT, that's a great moment to try it. A great track for these cars.
Yeah, it would be great to get some next numbers for week 12 next week. And when we go to Road America, it is a fun track. It's huge. And these cars will probably come up big there. Ben, congratulations. We'll see you next week, buddy.
You bet, guys. Thanks.
All right. And that was Ben Laughter. And Joe, I think you've caught up with Carl Jensen.
Yeah, Carl did manage a podium. And Carl, I hope you'll forgive us. We managed to cover the first half of your race, but there was so much going on. We didn't see you until we called the finishing order and realized you got a podium. How did you get back up there?
Well, it was more of just a lot of luck with everyone dying towards the end of the race. Obviously, Antti crashed. Same with Arto. And then a lot of other guys, Jamie Hall as well. It just helped me get up there again. But like after the incident with who was it? With that Lotus 79 driver that usually drives. I thought my race was gone, man. The car was like 20 kilometers slower down the straight. There was nothing to do. I basically just logged lap, and then the first one dropped off, and then the second one, and then the third one, and all of a sudden, we're up at the podium.
Now, the bad news I have for you is you racked up the most incidents of anyone in this race at 34. What are your thoughts about not having the incident limit in this series? Are you in favor of it?
On these kind of tracks, yes, because I'm quite an aggressive driver, and like there was a lot of times where you kind of needed to avoid things as well, avoid like Audis, because you don't realize how slow they are when you get up to them. And then obviously with this tight track, there is kind of always going to be contact between cars, or not always, but it's close at least. Yeah.
Well, this series is almost through getting all the tracks at least once on their schedule in its short history. This one now being ticked off. Do you want to see it back, or should this one stay in the bin?
I don't know. it is a very fun track with this car. It's so fast around there. Um, but I think if we're going back here, it's gonna be a story of everyone needing to take a little bit more patience, I think. Because there were times where it just got so crazy out there.
Yeah, it certainly was frantic and kept us on our toes. Again, congratulations on a third today.
Thank you.
Carl Jansen finishing on the podium somehow, despite, as he said, being 20 kilometers a mile or 20 kilometers an hour down on the straights compared to the top speed he should have. We're going to close out today and thank a few people. Of course, a big thank you to the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season. And thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go out to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work today. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjed, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com or check out our social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. We mention it. We're going out to Wisconsin for the final round, Road America. This is very much a favorite of almost all the drivers in this series. That'll be Saturday, March 3rd at 12 p.m. Eastern, so we expect pretty good attendance there. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.